Hello, my name is Aaron Edwards, co-founder and market consultant of Santos Springs. We offer grain marketing solutions to producers in multiple countries. Welcome to our W2H grain marketing channel. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I also recommend tapping the bell so you get future notifications. And if you like what you see, hit the like and share this video with other farmers who care deeply about their grain marketing. If you are a corn or soybean farmer, your revenue depends not only on your production, but also the answer to three simple questions: when, how much, and how you sell. One W, when, two H's, how and how much. Our W2H mentorship provides a clear, concise, and custom approach to answering each one of these three questions for your specific farm throughout the year. Before we start this week's content, it's always important to remember that trading in futures products entails significant risk of loss, which must be understood prior to trading and may not be appropriate for all investors. This commentary and the information contained within should be considered market commentary and reflect the opinions of the author. For those of you watching this with a delay, if you are a U.S. corn or soybean farmer and want to stop being held hostage by market uncertainty, let us teach you how to place each one of your bushels in a grain marketing strategy specifically designed to optimize your farm's revenue. Click on the link and we'll work together to see if our W2H mentorship is the right next step for your grain marketing. Welcome to this week's update video. Start out with market recommendation. Always that call to action, what needs to be done. That's always the starting point. So let me get the screen shared here and we will check that box to see what action is required. The first thing we want to do is just check the box. No action is recommended. No action is recommended. So if you remember, last week we took another shot at 10% more quarter one corn sales. We stepped out of the rest of our long corn positions with a profit, and we cut our, that were our quarter four bushels, and we cut our quarter four bushels on soybean reownership in half. So I will send you just this summary that shows the breakdown of that piece by piece, and you'll be able to see that history and examples of the results and the action. For this week, no action is required. You may be saying, hey, there's a lot of headlines, there's a lot going on. Are you sure? Are you sure you don't want to recommend any action? Let's go through the headlines, and then let's go on. Let's understand the thought process behind why no actions are recommended. All right, so let me pull up here. Let me pull up the images. We will start with this one. We always start with the recommendation, then we do some brief highlights or major talking points, so to speak, of the crop market, and then get into the analysis. So this is a big story here. Brazil's soybean crop. That's basically, we have Brazil's first crop corn, and we have some corn in Argentina. But for the most part, the big crop in the world is the Brazil soybean crop. If you round it, it's 28% is vegetative development. And then I'm going to make this red here for these two items. 45% is filling pods. If you round it, it's 46. And if you round it, it's 24% is flowering. So 46 filling pods, 24% is flowering. Those are two developmental phases that are exposed to weather risk. So if you want to tally that all up, these two red areas, 70% of Brazil's crop could experience yield loss. 70% of Brazil's crop could experience yield loss still, because like they always say in the US, beans are made in August. Well, January is kind of like the August of Brazil. How likely is it that we will have this yield loss? So if you look at Argentina, and this is also southern Brazil is similar to this. Here we have dryness. And I guess this is corn, but it doesn't really matter because this part, major production region, is dry. Paraguay's in that, southern Brazil's in that, and that is turning dry. That is concerning. But, and I'll mark this one up, this shows a focus on Brazil. Let me get a little lighter color, maybe blue. We'll try red here. Okay, I know this says corn. It doesn't really matter because I'm going to tell you the major soybean producing regions in general. This part of southern Brazil, that later planted soybeans, that would be in the vegetative development phase, maybe in the flowering phase. There is talk that there is yield loss. So I think we likely will see some yield loss from that part. If we're going to circle it, we might see maybe a third of Brazil's production region has some yield loss. That's not too different than just your average year. It's very rare to go through a whole year without some region having yield loss. I talked to a customer down there this week, and he farms here. That might be a little bit off. He farms here in Paraná, and he also farms here. He said they are going up here as Mato Grosso do Sul. He said the Paraná, let me circle this in blue. Oh, wrong color, blue. Let me get that in blue. The area in red, that's kind of his flagship operation, and it's doing just fine. The big expansion area for him is in Mato Grosso do Sul. He said they are going on 2 weeks without rain, and there was not rain forecasted. His fear is they're going to go 30 days without a drop of rain, and there's going to be yield loss. So it is a real story, right? There is really concern. I also talked to a number of farmers all over, but I'm going to point out, I'm just going to circle some of the regions that I talked to farmers, and all of these farmers, their description, let's see. And then over here, over in here, all of these farmers, which it's no surprise, but they just say their crops look absolutely fantastic and there's more rain forecasted. In a nutshell, northern Brazil looks good. Northern Brazil looks solid. Southern Brazil is dry, and that includes Argentina. That brings us to our next point, which is market plan portfolio. That's the base. And then we talk about seasonals, funds, and technicals. It's going to be kind of a brief video this week. That doesn't mean it's unimportant. We can get through all of the takeaways pretty quick about what's going on. Seasonals, funds, and technicals, and then action. The biggest story, and I will get over to it. We're going to start with corn. I'm actually going to start, I did this in a reverse order if you saw me scrolling there. All right, we're going to start, let's get this in red. This right here, that technical thing is what's called a golden cross. This is the 20-day moving average. I can do a little better than that. This is the 20-day moving average, 20. This is the 200-day. And it's looking, get all that cleared out. It's looking like we're going to see this line do that uppercut. And that could make us a little more optimistic about prices. That could say, hey, I think this market is going. It's going to be friendly. The flip side is, this could also test this level, which is this thing with technical analysis, right? It's always, oh, this could happen or that could happen. Who knows? Why is it not working? This could come up, test this, and fail, in which case this would be very weak for corn. Why is no action recommended? We took a reownership position, depending on exactly where you got in, but just circling ballpark, right? We took a reownership position. Let me get this in green. And then we took some profits, and then we took some more profits. That's what we did. We on our quarter 4 bushels. When it got up in here, we started selling our quarter 1 bushels. Why is no action recommended on corn? If for some reason, let me get this in blue. If for some reason this market goes up, we get this golden cross and it goes up. Great. That's where we will lean in. We've got plenty of corn out in front of us to sell. Haven't even started on new crop. That's where we're going to lean into sales. We're going to sell more. Will we get to $5 corn? Maybe. I would love to think so. I think it'll be a tall order because what we've seen, I'm not going to show a basis chart, but what we've seen is when corn moves up, we've seen basis either sideways or down depending on where you are. So the cash price isn't feeling the full effect. It moves up, I got to come off basis a little bit. That is an environment of ample supply. If Chicago goes up, if we get another 20, 30 cent rally up above where we are now, great. That's wonderful. I'm thrilled. We're knocking on 480, 490. That's really good news. That's exciting. That's where very likely, we'll monitor the situation, but very likely if we get that next move up, that's where we're going to start selling. Very likely take a stab at some new crop corn. That's a world we can live in. Okay, went up a little higher, get a stake in the ground on some new crop, upper 4s. Yeah, that's something we can live with. If for some reason this thing fails and comes down, and then we see, I'll do this in green, I'll do this in red. We see this market just kind of coming down here. We need to find support. Is support down in here? Is support down in here? Is support down in here? Maybe support is the 20-day, right? Maybe it stays around here. We don't know where that support is. But we've got some quarter 4 bushels that we can reown once we know what that support is. We've got some quarter 1 bushels we can reown. Once we get a solid support, great. We've lifted the cap a little bit, falls down, very likely it'll stair step back up. We have a USDA report on Friday, and in my opinion, we're testing a golden cross on corn with a USDA report on Friday with dry weather in the southern hemisphere. Now let's scroll back to beans. Let's look at, and then the other thing that's interesting is the speculators. Let's get this maybe in green here, okay? We got speculators are buying this thing. We got a new position. So if they want to just buy this, if they want to kind of just tie a helium balloon to the corn market and just let it go up, that is great news. If they keep buying this, and that just keeps going up, that is we can live in that world. Corn goes up, we figure out how to sell, make some more sales. That's a world we can live in. If they are saying, I don't know how really bullish I am, let me at least get my feet on the ground, and they kind of work their way back down there, we're probably going to see a little softer corn market. So we're not high enough to say, this corn is artificially high, you got to sell it, these funds are irrational. No, they're a little bullish corn. They're buying a little corn. That's good news. Not that weird seasonally for where we are. They're kind of trying to accumulate some long positions coming into the spring. We don't know what the battle for acre holds. We don't know what Brazil's safrinha is. There's enough uncertainty. I think that they're justified in being where they are. If Friday plus weather gives us a reason for higher corn, and that's great. We'll take that. Bummer, we got stepped out of some positions at a profit a little bit too sooner on some quarter 4 bushels. That's okay. We made some early sales, not very much, but a little early on some quarter 1. That's okay. But we still have the lion's share of the work ahead of us. And if it does fall down, I'm looking for how far does Chicago fall before we start seeing that uptick in basis, that uptick in, well, all right, Chicago can fall, you're not getting my corn, well, I'll pay a little more. I just think we'll be better informed. There's no reason at this critical point to try to guess a market and step in front of it. If it goes up, we're going to sell more. If it comes down, we can step back into re-ownership, and this is not a bad position to be. It's a market to watch closely, but in my opinion, to some extent, on Q4 bushels and on the Q1 bushels, we're just going to just sit tight. We got a stake in the ground on Q1, haven't even touched Q2 or Q3 bushels. It's not hyper bearish, but let's make the bulls convince us a little bit more before we get too confident in it. Backtracking here to the soybeans, and this is another reason why I'm just a little bit cautious. The questions, will corn pull beans up or will beans pull corn down? Beans have really struggled, if we think all through November. This is the 20-day mover. Well, I didn't do a very good job tracing that. It's 20-day mover. We've really struggled every time that we've been above it. We've really struggled to stay above the 20-day moving average on soybeans. And we're struggling again. I would love to think that we stay in an uptrend and this thing goes sideways and then we recover and comes down here and we got some shot opportunities in the mid-10s. If that is the case, on some Q4 bushels that we sold, we still have that ownership on part of that. So if we do stay in an uptrend, if corn takes off, probably it'll pull beans up. And if that's the case, that's great news. That's a world we can live in. If we get up close to the 200-day moving average or up over it like we did in corn, yeah, we should be looking at sales, moving forward with more sales. That's not the case today. Today, beans just look somewhat weak. The flip side is, if this falls, how far will it go? And the big support level we would be looking at that point would be this level down here of these previous lows. So if it falters here, will it come back down here? And then if it does, can it stay at this or will it take out that low? I think it depends on rain in Brazil. I think in South America, depends if there's any adjustments to numbers and on the USDA report. But we made our re-ownership position on Q4 bushels a little bit lighter. On a little bit bleaker note, we saw when beans tried to rally up, we saw basis pull back. So there still are beans out there. We also, the spec funds, this is the last image we have for today. The spec funds, they're still basically bearish beans, right? They're down here. Yeah, they reduce their position. It's not like we need to be re-owning beans because they've oversold it. The truth of the matter is, if it stays dry for another 10 to 15 days in Southern South America, I think we need to seriously consider that this is not a 170 million ton crop of soybeans, but it's still on the podium of one of the largest soybeans crops Brazil's ever raised. Well, that's it for the content this week. We have a lot of news and headlines to follow, but we'll hold tight and make more decisions next week.